What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Going the Distance podcast presented by ImmaculateSports.com. Twitter's at ImacSports.
Instagram is also at ImacSports.
TikTok, YouTube, Immaculate Sports. It's episode 192 here on Tuesday night. NBA playoffs about to kick off, and we'll get into all of that. They had their draft lottery too. But it's also a big week for baseball. We always talk about those dog days of summer, and of course, we got our weekly awards. We're going to rank some other awards too, Kyle.
Yeah, we got our quarterly season check on the AL and NL MVP, Cy Young, and Rookie of the Year, as well as some playoff team predictions. Kind of good to just kind of see where we are and track to our preseason predictions, as well as, once we get throughout the year, it'd be kind of cool to look back to see where our mind was at, a quarter way through the season, halfway through the season, 3/4 way through the season, and then at the end as well, too. And that's why the segment's titled, Where's Your Head At? But before we get to that, we got to get to our opener. And my opener is going on right now. It's Caitlin Clark's WNBA debut. The Indiana Fever going into Connecticut. That team name is called the Sun. Some cool, interesting names, by the way. We'll get more into WNBA names because we found out a new one today in a second. But Caitlin Clark's making her debut right now. They're in the second quarter. She hasn't scored a point yet. 0 for 3 from the field, 0 for 1 from the three-point line. But she does have an assist.
Okay.
So Ricky, I don't know but greatest start, but still probably going to be one of the more watched WNBA games in their history. And I assume she's obviously doing a lot of stuff for that. And then as well, just other WNBA news, because why not? The Golden State Valkyries is the team name for the Bay Area squad that's making their debut next year, I want to say. But that came out today. I'm not sure I fully understand the team name. I think it's like supposed to be some play on like the Warriors, because that's kind of how they try to do that stuff. But I don't know, maybe it'll catch on. But another sports team in the Bay Area, I'm not going to complain about anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Speaking of the Bay Area, man, how about a little week one schedule leak here? 49ers will be hosting the first Monday Night Football game, and it's going to be against the Jets. What an absolute brutal week one matchup for them. The travel from east to west is tough, but
I talking about the Niners.
Oh no. Yeah, from San Francisco to Santa Clara. I know. Lots of traffic, man. But I'm still excited because I'm going to be there. I'm going to be rooting on A-Rod and his real first game as a Jet. And hopefully we play well, man.
That was going to be my next question was, are you going to that game? And now,
wow. Yeah.
Broke the bank, I imagine?
Wasn't
probably
that
some
bad.
Expensive seats. Really?
Wasn't that bad. Like $230, I think.
Oh, there's 4 Niner fans out there, unlike the rich Raider fans. Yeah. Fuck you, Niner fans. I'm sorry. Regardless, we'll move into our player, pitcher, rookie of the week like we always do. Player of the week, Skyler, who'd you go with here? There's a player close to our heart that could have got this week.
Yeah, Brent Rooker had a ridiculous week, but I'm not going to go with him. I'm going to go with Charlie Blackmon, actually. He had 409 this week, 9 RBIs, a bunch of extra base hits, even though he didn't hit a homer this week. But the big thing is being the leader for that Colorado team, a 5-game win streak, and they just swept the Rangers, the defending champs.
Yeah, it was a good weekend for the Rockies, not the Rangers, as they get their first sweep of the season. My player of the week, though, is going to be Brent Rooker. He went 12 for 24, a 500 average with 3 doubles, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, and a stolen base. This guy's locked in right now. Obviously, I watch Brent Rooker, an NEA's player, more than any player on any opposing team, but this guy is just so good at the plate right now. It reminds me of that April that he had last year that kind of set the baseball world on fire, where he had like a 1.2 OPS or something like that. He's on pace for that in May this year. So hopefully that pans out well, and maybe we end up seeing a player of the month honors for a guy like that who deserves it for the great month that he's been having so far. Pitcher of the week, who'd you go with?
Well, it started off as an easy pick for me with Max Fried. 7 no-hit innings against the Mets. Pretty awesome. 5 strikeouts, 0 hits, of course. That's the whole point. But Nola of the Phillies just threw a complete game shutout. Pretty sick. Also shout out Dylan Cease, Michael King, Chris Sale. Nasty as ever this week, but I'm going to go with the 7 no-hit innings of Max Fried.
Yeah, there's a ton of different guys you could go with. I saw Fried. I saw Michael King, who had a really good outing, 11 Ks from him against the Dodgers. There was Seth Lugo, who went 8 innings of 1 run ball with 12 strikeouts, a career high for him against the Angels over the weekend. Nola, who pitched today, the Tuesday day game gets you sometimes, man, because it's just like you do your awards, and then that happens. And, of course, that ends up being, a great start for Nola. I think the first 6 innings or first 5 innings are perfect. He was really good in that game regardless, shutting down the Mets. But the guy that I went was Dylan Cease. For 7 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, 12 strikeouts. Absolutely dominant. He's been so good for the Padres so far this year. And just that rotation is really starting to come to life a little bit now. We saw a slow start from Darvish and Joe Musgrove and Michael King, but now those guys are starting to put together some good starts, and the Padres are in the thick of it, of a playoff spot right now, and I think that's probably one of the main reasons why. How about Rookie of the Week? There wasn't a ton of standouts.
Yeah, this one was easy for me. Shota Imanaga, about 5 shutout against Atlanta. 8 strikeouts in that one, and he keeps the magical rookie season rolling.
Yeah, I wanted to do Shota, but I've done him already a couple times this year. And those 5 innings I was watching, even though he got through it unscathed, they were pretty messy 5 innings. I think he had like 10 base runners throughout that time. I think it was 7 hits and 5 or 3 walks. So I decided to go the other side with the hitter who had a solid week. Most hits out of any rookie, I want to say, and that's Max Schumann. 7 for 23, 2 doubles. One of them was huge on Saturday night, a base clearing double to drive in 3 runs against the Seattle Mariners to kind of put that game out of reach. He hit a homer on Sunday. And in total, a good week for Max Schumann, a guy who's really starting to make his impression felt in the A's organization, at least in the big league team. He's always kind of had a ton of impact in the minor leagues. Wasn't really a top prospect or anything like that because he is already 26. He's been really good for the A's so far. And something to point out with him is that he has the 3rd highest barrel rate on the A's right now, behind Shea Langoliers and Brent Rooker, which is notable because he's not a big guy. And if you have the ability to hit, those high exit velos, you're going to stick around if you have the ability to make contact. So just something notable with Max Schumann. He might be a guy that sticks around on this team, whether it's long-term shortstop, probably not because of Jacob Wilson, but I think you'll find a home somewhere in this team over the next few years.
Yeah, I love the stare down.
Yeah, no, that was dope. He's got the I don't know if it's ego to him, but he's got
the tiger,
the aura, so to speak, that he's a dog. So there's that. Moving on to our awards of not the week, but the quarter season so far. We'll start off with our top 3 in the AL for MVP. Skyler, do you have any honorable mentions that you want to talk about here first?
Yeah, a couple guys who missed the list here. Gunnar Henderson and Josh Naylor. Insane combinations of both power and clutch so far.
Yeah, I love Kyle Tucker off the board. He's 2nd in WAR right now and leads the league in home runs. But I think the other 2 guys that I had are a bit better. And I do want to give a shout out to Ryan Jeffers, who has the 8th best WAR in the American League right now, and he's been hitting nukes for the Twins so far this season. So I just want to give a shout out to him, as well as Brent Rooker, who has been really damn good and has only played like 31 or 32 games so far for the A's. Who's your number 3?
My number 3, I am going to give it to Kyle Tucker, actually. I just feel like he's been the most locked-in hitter in the American League so far this year. First in OPS, of course. Also first in homers. He's walked 30 times. Obviously, Houston's not playing up to par right now with the rest of the AL, but I feel like at some point they're going to figure it out if Kyle Tucker's keeping up this pace.
Yeah. My number 3 is going to be Juan Soto for the Yankees that are currently 2nd in the AL East, off to a really good start to the season. He's got a 2.3 WAR, which is 3rd in the league, 173 WRC plus, 9 homers, 4 stolen bases, a 14.7% walk rate with a 12.6 K rate. So he's walking more than he's striking out. 18.1% barrel, 60.1% hard hits, and he's been above average defensively as well too. It's been a complete boost for the Yankees roster, and I think that's exactly kind of why we're seeing that Yankees mantra of the evil empire coming back this year, and he embodies that perfectly. Number 2.
My number 2 is going to be Bobby Witt Jr. I feel like he's top 10 in every single category, whether he's in the AL or NL when you're sorting it. I feel like the lack of home runs, too, was made up for with his 15 stolen bases. He's been extremely valuable for a team who's currently third in the wild card race. So massive. Obviously, the pitching staff's been great, but a lot of credit to Bobby Witt.
Yeah. Number 2 for me is going to be Gunnar Henderson. So you leave him right off. I put him in the 2 spot. He's 4th in the AL in WAR, so I completely understand him being left off. But the 152 WRC plus, the 12 homers, the 6 stolen bases, the 54.4% hard hit rate, the 4 defensive runs saved, and the 4 outs above average is something I just cannot leave off my list. I would like to see Baltimore switch him up in the lineup. I don't really think he makes sense as a one hitter, considering he doesn't walk a ton and doesn't have the highest, crazy on base percentage. I think they would probably get more runs if they let off Hatley and then hit Gunnar 2, or even put like Mountcastle at the 2 spot and Gunnar in 3. Just have some more run driving in opportunities. So maybe we see the Orioles do that, or maybe he just stays at the leadoff spot and tears it up. Regardless, he's been ridiculously good. For the AL East leading Baltimore Orioles. And the MVP in the AL through the quarter season marks together, who is it?
Yeah, that leaves Juan Soto for me here. 4th highest OPS in baseball. A whole bunch of RBIs, 9 homers, 28 walks, 314 batting average. He, of course, looks great on paper, but who knows what this Yankee lineup looks like without him. This was the biggest pickup all season long. So far, it's clear there. He's changing everything about this team. A team that doesn't like personalities. It seems like Juan Soto still somehow fits with what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And it's been perfect so far.
Yeah, no, he perfectly embodies what it means to be a Yankee, I think. And whether he signs there or not in this offseason is going to be something that's really interesting to see, because it's really just where he wants to go, because every team in the book is going to write him a blank check, and you just got to pick. Maybe it'll be the Dodgers. How about that? That'd be pretty crazy. My number 1 MVP in the first quarter of the season is going to be Bobby Witt, though. He leads the AL in WAR at 2.7. That's 0.3 higher than anybody else in the AL right now. The 145 WRC plus is below the couple other dudes on this list, but I think he makes up for it in a couple different ways. Not the homers, though. He only has 5, but 15 stolen bases is 2nd in the AL, only behind Jose Caballero, who's 29th in the AL in WAR right now. 50.7 hard hit rates, 8 defensive runs saved, and 8 outs above average is probably the craziest thing here. While he's been a great offensive player, he's been the best shortstop in the league to begin the season. So Bobby Witt Jr. of the 25 and 18 Kansas City Royals is my MVP. On to the NL side. Now, Skyler, do you have any honorable mentions here?
I don't. I could, but I'm good with my 3.
Yeah, I do want to give a shout out to William Contreras. I left him off the list. I completely understand why he would be on the list, and he probably should be for a lot of different reasons. But I did leave him off to put somebody else on there that I think would be more favorable in the MVP voting category that we see.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your number 3?
Yeah, I did go with William Contreras at number 3 because I think he's arguably the most valuable player in the National League this year, because he has platinum glove level defense already. But this season, the offense has been ridiculous. Number 1 batting average in the league, 354, tied with Ohtani. Just been the definition of the most valuable player here for the first place Brewers.
Yeah. My number 3, I wouldn't say he's the most valuable player, but he's one of the most exciting players in the game. And I think that's kind of what it spins to sometimes in the MVP voting. And so I put Elly De La Cruz as my number 3. He is 7th in the NL in WAR at 1.8. He's got 144 WRC plus, 9 homers. He leads the MLB with 25 stolen bases already, which is absolutely ridiculous. 12.4 walk rate is really solid. 14.3 barrel rate as well too. He's been hitting the ball hard. We haven't incorporated the bat speed yet stuff in here because that just did come out last week, and I really don't know how to. I don't know. Interpret some of those results quite yet because we're still kind of learning what all that stuff means. But Ellie De La Cruz has been great for the Reds. Unfortunately, the Reds have not been that great in the early going of the season. But regardless, I do have him as my number 3. Number 2.
All right, number 2 is going to be Mookie Betts. He's right behind Ohtani on all the important hitting metrics. He's hitting 341, which is ridiculous on its own, but obviously not as good as the other 2 guys that we've talked about here, which is just crazy. But it's another situation here. It's important to remember Mookie Betts switched to shortstop, one of the hardest positions to field, to help fill the hole that the Dodgers had there, and he's been perfect.
Yeah. I also have Mookie Betts at the number 2 spots, which is a shame because he is the leader in WAR in the MLB right now. But I think it is reasonable to put him in the 2 spots. But the 2.9 WAR right now is ridiculous. The 185 WRC plus, 7 homers, 8 stolen bases, the 15% walk rate and 9.5 K rate are just like absurd numbers. Both those numbers are career best for him so far, and he has 5 defensive runs saved at shortstop. This is a guy who hadn't played shortstop in the big leagues and now has been one of the best shortstops defensively in the league. So Mookie Betts is ridiculous. He's my number 2. Number 1.
Yeah, it's Shohei Ohtani because he's been on a different universe this season. We mentioned it earlier. He's hitting 354 this year with 11 homers, hitting the snot out of the ball with 9 stolen bases as well. He's looking like he could and probably should be the first DH to win MVP if he stays healthy.
First NL DH to win MVP.
Yes.
How about that? Yeah. I have Shohei as the number 1 as well too. I feel so bad for Mookie if he puts up like a higher WAR season than Shohei, and he's the number 2 in MVP voting on his own team, not even just like in the league. But Shohei has been the best hitter in the league right now, and I think that those stats alone can kind of speak for themselves. He's second in the NL in WAR at 2.6. He has a 203 weighted runs created, which is just ridiculous. 11 home runs, 9 stolen bases, I think is also a pretty crazy thing considering he never really ran that much with the Angels, and now he's on pace to have damn near a 40 stolen base season, 40-40. 22.9 barrel rates is first in the league by over 5%. So he's like on another planet what he's doing right now. By the way, this guy can pitch, just not right now. And I think that also needs to be thrown out there whenever you're talking about Shohei. He's been the best hitter in the league, and it's just not even close right now. I think he's so fun to watch. I think it's fun as A's fans in the way that like we don't hate the Dodgers, so we can kind of appreciate how good they are and how good their players are. When I feel like most of baseball fans in general just want to shit on them because they are the Dodgers, we really get to take in their greatness, and I think we're going to do that with Shohei again this year after spending all those years with the Angels. On to the AL Cy Young, though, Skyler. Any honorable mentions that you had here?
There's a lot of them, I think. I want to specifically shout out, though, Seth Lugo. Awesome so far for Kansas City. Tanner Hook. I call him Tanner Hook. Boston guy. Also been unhittable and got a new card in MLB The Show for it, too. And also any of the Seattle starters. They're all going to end up at the top of this list at some point, but just didn't crack it.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, there's a ton of honorable mentions. One guy I do want to talk about that isn't going to be mentioned is Garrett Crochet and how good he's been for the White Sox so far. I know the ERA is at 4.63, but the expected ERA is at 2.15, so he's not giving up a ton of hard contact. 2.56 expected FIP. He has a 12.3 K per 9 with a walks per nine below 2. So he's been in the zone. He's been throwing the ball hard. He's been really fun to watch for the White Sox. One of the few things that's been fun to watch for them. But he's not going to make a top Cy Young list, at least right now, considering that current ERA at 4.63. Who would you number 3, Skyler?
I just could not leave him off again. I'm not really sure how he does it, but Ronel Blanco does not give up any hard contact. He's 4-0, a sub-3 ERA. He's thrown a no-hitter, and one of the only bright spots on this Astros pitching staff this year.
Yeah, that's true. I went with Tanner Houck as my number 3 guy. He has a 1.8 WAR, which is technically tied for first, but Fangraphs has him as third. I don't know if they have like a 1.8, other number there that kind of determines it, or they're all just at 1.8. But regardless, he's third in WAR as of right now. 52.1 thirds innings pitched in 8 games started. Just a heads up, the guys above him in this list both have 9 games started, so he's probably going to be a real leader in WAR once he gets that 9th game started. Actually, no, the number 1 guy does not have 9 starts. My bad. But regardless, he's only had 8 starts and has 52 and a third innings pitched. 8.6 K per 9, 1.4 walks per 9, which is 5th in the AL, a 2.24 ERA, which is 4th in the AL, and a 2.17 FIP is 2nd in the AL right now. He's been really good for a Boston pitching staff that is somehow ridiculously good.
Number 2, I'm going to have to go with Corbin Burns here. The 2.68 ERA is just exactly what you're asking for from him. He's top 10 in everything. He hasn't lost his ace status this year. Like a lot of AL starters have had blow-up games. He's been really consistent, and that's why he gets the 2 spot.
I get that. I do have Seth Lugo, who's currently the AL leader in innings pitched, as my number 2 guy. A 1.3 WAR, 7.2 K per 9 isn't crazy, but the 1.8 walks per 9 and the 1.66 ERA, which is first in the AL right now, is kind of my points to have him up there. I've always valued guys that eat up a ton of innings and are super effective while doing that, and he's been the embodiment of that. For the Kansas City Royals so far this season. He's been one of the best pickups in all of baseball in the offseason. Signing that deal. And he's so fun to watch, too, because he throws like 18 different pitches. Number 1.
Yeah, this is going to be Tarek Skubal. In 8 starts, he has a 2.02 ERA and 60 strikeouts. He's truly been unhittable this season for the Tigers. 6 quality starts, but really all 8 have been great.
Yeah, Tarek Skubal pretty much the no doubt pick right now is number 1 in the AL Cy Young voting. He's first in WAR with that 1.8, 49 innings pitched in 8 starts, like you said, 11 K per 9, which is 4th in the AL, 1.5 walks per 9. So you're striking out that many dudes and you're just not walking anybody. That's absolutely ridiculous. The expected numbers are just as good as his normal numbers. So it's not like he's getting lucky. He has a 2.13 expected ERA and a 2.04 FIP, which is first in the American League, and a 38.8% chase rate. He's impossible to pick up. He throws his fastball up to 100 miles per hour. He's got like 3 or 4 different off-speed pitches that he can spot. He's the full package when it comes to a starting pitcher right now, and he's been the best. It's that simple. On to the NL. Any honorable mentions here?
We'll shout out the rookie Imanaga. Of course, we'll talk about him later, though.
Yeah. Let me pull up the NL real quick, just making sure. I guess Dylan Cease can be an honorable mention for me, as well as Zach Wheeler is another option.
Okay.
Number 3.
Well, number 3, I have a 3-way tie with all 3 Philly starters. I couldn't do it. It's Nola, it's Wheeler, it's Ranger Suarez. I couldn't just pick one. They're all elite in their own strength. I guess Nola, just went CG against the Mets, so that puts him at the top here. But all 3 guys have been nasty.
Yeah. My number 3, I decided to go with Tyler Glasnow. He's first in WAR in the NL for pitchers at 1.7. He's first in innings pitched at 57 innings pitched. Second in K per nine at 11.5. 2.4 walks per nine is pretty good for him. 2.39 expected ERA is second in the NL, and a 2.43 xFIP is first in the NL. It's first or second in every single category. He's been ridiculously good for the Dodgers. And hopefully he stays healthy because we do want to see a full season of him, and that's not something that we've really gotten so far in his career.
Number two, I am going to go with Dylan Cease here. You know I love my strikeout guys, and he gets 11 per nine. Just a massive pickup for San Diego, who needed the help because I just knew they'd be trying to compete here, even with all the trades, and it's kind of working out in their favor.
Cool. Yeah, my number two is going to be Shota Amanaga with a 1.64 in the NL. That's fifth, 46.2 innings pitched. So it's a bit lower. I think that's probably the reason why he's not number one on my list is that he's not able to go super deep into starts. Granted, one of those was limited by rain delay. 9.8 K per nine, a 1.5 walks per nine is fourth in the NL. The 0.96 ERA is the only person that's zero dot in it right now, and he's first in the league in that, of course, and the 2.30 FIP is also second in the NL. So he's been ridiculously good for the Cubs. Another one of those dudes that signed it or moved. I guess he signed, but Glasnow got traded, but changing teams and has been really, really good in his new spot.
Number one, I'm going with Tyler Glasnow with the Dodgers. He's proven everyone wrong so far. MLB leading 73 strikeouts, and as of today, he's healthy. He's won 6 games already. He's done everything the Dodgers have asked him to do, so I have to keep him up here.
Yeah, that's the thing with Tyler Glasnow. It was never a matter of the stuff. It was never a matter of the ability. Just can he stay healthy? Because we know that if he pitches 200 innings, he's gonna be in the top, 3 or 5 of the Cy Young because that's just how good he is. It's not. There's not a scenario that he sucks. If he pitches 200 innings. Regardless, my number one is not Tyler Glasnow. It's Ranger Suarez, who is second in the NL in WAR again with 1.7. He's got 54 innings pitched in 8 games started, so he'll pass up Glasnow in innings pitched once he gets to that ninth start, I'd imagine, which is probably the Phillies' next game because I believe he's their 3 starter right behind Nola. He has a 9.2 K per nine, a 1.3 walks per nine, which is first in the NL, so he's not walking anybody, a 1.5 ERA, which is third in the NL, and a 2.62 FIP, which is fourth in the NL. So he ranks pretty high up on damn near everything. He's also 7-0 for all you win-loss nerds, or not nerds. I guess that's the opposite of nerds. For all you idiots or whatever. He's been really good, and he's my NL MVP in the first quarter. Or not NL MVP, geez. NL Cy Young in the first quarter of the season.
If we were in 1990 and the season ended today, I think he would win for sure.
Yeah. If you have no losses at all. Isn't that crazy that they would just do awards based off win losses in the ERA? Like, that's just so easy, dude.
Yeah.
Regardless. Anyways, moving on to Rookie of the Year. Any other mentions that you have here in the AL together?
I don't.
Yeah. I guess I could give a shout out to David Schneider, who's been good.
Yeah, sure. Shout him out.
Neglected in the lineup of the Blue Jays. And then, interesting note, Kyle McCann, who has only had 14 games played, is fourth in the American League in WAR for rookies.
Wow.
At 0.8, only behind Schneider, Kauser, and Wyer Abreu, who those two dudes we'll obviously talk about here in a few minutes, but kind of crazy. For a guy who's only has 39 plate appearances, we need to find a way to put his bat in the lineup because he's got a 212 WRC plus. Anyways, number 3, who'd you got?
I'm going to go with Luis Eel here, the starter of the Yankees. Just been really solid all season long. A tough ask with the Garrett Cole injury, of course, but he's got a 2.51 ERA, 48 strikeouts. That's perfect for a rookie starter.
I went with Clinton Kauser as my number 3 guy. He's got a 1.2 WAR, which is second among position players in the AL for rookies. 136 WRC plus, 6 homers, 3 stolen bases, 10.5% walk rate. 16.9% barrel rate is still amongst the highest in the league, and 4 outs above average in the outfield for the Orioles so far this year. He's been slumping the past couple weeks, so maybe this is the last time we see Cowser on this list. Or maybe he picks it back up and he stays on this list a bit longer, because he was really good in the first half first month of the season, and I'd like to see it stay that way for him. Hard because he's on my fantasy team. Number 2.
Yeah, number 2, I'm going to go with Cowser over Abreu here. Like you said, it's starting to happen. He's starting to get platooned a little more, and you kind of need the counting stats for Rookie of the Year. But he's still been good. 6 homers, 250 average. Well, let's get him some more ABs.
Yeah. Number 2 for me is going to be Layups Abreu. 1.3 WAR leads all AL rookies as of right now. 143 WRC plus, 3 homers, 5 stolen bases, a 13% walk rate for a rookie is really damn good. 5 defensive runs saved and 2 outs above average. I really did not recognize that he's been that good in the outfield for them so far. He was a fun guy to watch last year. He had some moments where I didn't know who he was when he came into the big leagues, and that doesn't happen too often. I saw him raking last year. I was like, oh, shit, this guy's kind of fun to watch, and he's translated that to this year as well, too. So shout out Layups Abreu, stud of a rookie for the Red Sox. Number 1.
Yeah, it's Mason Miller. It feels more real every day. He's just been so good. I mean, 103 painted is just completely unfair. He's got 8 saves, 18 strikeouts per 9. He's only given up 2 runs the entire year, and he could go multiple innings.
Yeah, it's Mason Miller. If you're putting anybody else right now, you're just wrong. Like, I'm sorry, you're just wrong. The 1.2 WAR is ridiculous for a closer. 8 out of 8 for saves, like you said. 16 out of 30 innings pitched with an 18.2 K per 9. 2.2 walks per 9 is damn good for that as well, too. 0 home runs allowed in the first 16 innings. That's pretty notable. His average fastball velocity is 101.2. So if you didn't know he throws hard, well, now you know he throws hard. The 0.76 expected ERA is really good. But the most crazy stat of them all is a negative FIP that he has at negative 0.17. That's like, he broke the stat. He literally broke the stat. That shouldn't happen. But it does happen when you strike out enough batters, you don't allow any home runs, and you don't walk a ton of people. You get that. Mason Miller and the voters, please vote for this guy. We really need this right now. Mason Miller, Rookie of the Year, would be awesome. Sure. On to the NL side. Skyler, any honorable mentions that you have here?
Yeah, shout out my guy Kyle Harrison, who I chose to win it, and Michael Busch, who's cooled off but had a ridiculous couple weeks.
Yeah. One guy I do want to mention is going to be Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He's been good for the Dodgers. I know there's like, oh, you just take out his stat or his game and soul, then his stats look a lot better. I'm not doing that. His stats still look good, but I don't think he fits into the top 3 as of right now. Who's your 3rd?
I do have Yamamoto. I don't care. 4-1 this season. He's been really good. And I'll say it, outside of Korea, he has. All right.
That's true.
It was another guy that was a really big ask for the Dodgers, and he's done everything they have asked him to do. That's why they have the number 1 seed in the NL West. They haven't really slumped since we did our re-ranking of the power rankings. A lot of credit is owed to Yamamoto. It's the only way to say it.
Yeah. I left him off to put his teammate on, Andy Pages, who has a .9 WAR in only 24 games to start off the season. 128 defensive run, or not defensive run saves. Oh my God, that'd be crazy. 128 weighted runs created plus 4 homers already, a stolen base plus 3 defensive runs saved and 2 outs above average. So he's been good in pretty much all facets so far. Hitting 286 with some pop. He's got the ability to run. He's got the ability to play defense. Pages looks to be a stud, and he's got the cool, calm demeanor that you kind of need for it to be in LA. Number 2.
Going with Jared Jones of the Pirates. Very similar numbers to Yamamoto, but he's been a little better. Leads all rookies in strikeouts.
Yeah, Jared Jared Jones has been fun to watch. I think his .9 WAR is one of the reasons why WAR doesn't feel like a great stat for pitchers. I feel like it should be a bit higher for him. Regardless, that .9 WAR is from 47 innings pitched and 8 games started. 10.7 K per nine is really good, but it's even better when you're only walking 1.3 batters per 9 innings, which is second in the total NL, not just by rookies. He's at a 2.68 ERA, which is below the magic number 3. And a 2.74 xFIP is really good as well, too. Jared Jones has got some great stuff. And unfortunately, he's not even the best rookie on his own pitching staff. Paul Skeens are not going to be on the list this time, but maybe when to do midseason. We'll see. Number 1.
It's Imanaga. Been unhittable for the Cubs. 5-0. The sub-1 ERA, the only guy doing that. 51 Ks. That's still good for 12th best in the National League, despite missing that start with the rain delay. Just ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. It reminds me a lot, and it's not just because they're from Japan, but maybe it is. Yu Darvish was a little older when they came over, and he was just locked in immediately. He's not going to have a Hall of Fame career, most likely, but it's just another guy who was absolutely shoving this year.
Yeah, I remember when Yu Darvish came over. I think his second start, he brought it like a no-hitter, a perfect game into 8 2/3. And if I remember correctly, he lost it because the ball went through his legs or something like that. Mm-hmm. But he was really good from the jump and has now had a ridiculous career and just signed, a 6-year deal in the offseason to bring him through age 40-something seasons. So he's probably going to end up having a 15-year career. Shota probably not because he's already 30, but still a ridiculous start to his season. I also have him as the number 1 on my thing. I already went over all the stats, so I'm not going to say him again. But he's been fun to watch. He's very, I don't want to say unorthodoxly good, but it's kind of the right way to put it because his fastball is really good. However, it's only 92.6 average, so it's not like he's got a below average velocity fastball, but the way that it breaks and stays on his plane is something that makes it so damn good. As well as his off-speed pitches, he's just got the ability to locate them so well. He's been good, and it's not just because he's playing the Rockies or some shit like that. He had a lockdown appearance or a start against the Dodgers. Just had that good start against the Braves yesterday, like we were talking about. He's put against good teams, and he's done really well. So, Shota Imanaga, my original pick to win NL Rookie of the Year, is looking really good right now, even though I fear if he struggles and Yoshinobu Yamamoto continue to be good, they're probably going to drop it for the voters. But regardless, Shota's definitely been the best in the quarter mark of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Moving on to our, what I title it, quarter season playoff team predictions. I wanted to get that right. We also can do seeding as well, too. I guess we'll do it from that way. Skyler, who is your wild card 3 team in the AL?
I'm going to go with Cleveland at this spot. I have them losing out on the division, but they have been much better than we expected. So we may actually see the extra central team in the playoffs here for the AL.
Yeah, I didn't expect to stay at the beginning of the season, but I do have Cleveland in my wild card 3 as well, too. Just like you, I have them losing that lead in the division. Just because they're just, I don't think the pitching staff's going to stay as good as what it's been. I think the bullpen probably remains just as good, if not better, if some guys get healthy. And the lineup without Steven Kwan for a month is going to hurt. And I know they're already kind of halfway through that, but still, it's going to hurt for the next couple of weeks. And that might be, enough to do it when it's all said and done. Regardless, I do think they steal a playoff spot from some of the other teams that weren't able to make it and claim that third wild card spot. Number 2.
I'm going to go with Seattle here. Also a team currently leading the division. I have fallen back a little bit, but things have been a little better for them here. A little win streak going. The offense is starting to get going. They've scored a lot more runs these past 2 weeks than we're used to. And, of course, that ridiculous pitching staff. They do not give up a lot of runs.
Yeah. My number 2 wild card is going to be the Texas Rangers. Kind of off to a rough start to the season. Like you said, earlier, Charlie Blackmon just swept by the Rockies as Alex Bregman just hit another homer against the
Oh
A's.
boy.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Regardless, only 22 and 21 right now, but I think they'll find their form as they get some pitchers back healthy, whether it's Eovaldi, DeGrom, Scherzer, Molly, Bradford, all these dudes that they're still looking for, and their lineup it's starting to hit. So I think the offense will be fine, and I think they'll have a good summer and find a spot in the playoffs when it's all said and done. Wild card number 1.
Got the Yankees. I love what they're doing. I just don't trust them to keep it going and outrun Baltimore here. Baltimore just handled them pretty easily head to head, right? So I feel like I can't change that.
Yeah, I have the Yankees as my first wild card team as well too. I don't think it'll be a matter of them slowing down. I think it's just Baltimore staying plain and kind of just keeping that couple game lead over them the entire season. And whether the Yankees take a lead in August and then lose it again, regardless, I don't think they end up winning the division. But I think the one wild card spot is pretty much a lock for them if they just don't have some crazy injuries or anything like that. Moving on to division winners, Skyler, who's your worst division winner in the AL?
I got the Twins, of course, from the Central again here. This has been one of the hottest teams in baseball, and I think this is the real version of them we're going to see. They're starting to get a little healthier, and they have a couple of ace options. Obviously, we didn't talk about them in the Cy Young race because they've been struggling a little bit, but when you have guys like Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan, you're going to get wins. I think they're better than Cleveland.
Yeah. I have Minnesota as my AL Central winner too, but I do have Seattle as the number 3 team. I think the AL West this year is going to beat up on each other and kind of make it a bit tougher for Seattle or whoever ends up winning the division. But in Seattle, in my scenario here, not being able to have like a 95 to 97 win season, so they won the division probably with like a 92. I do like what Seattle's done so far, though, especially in the past couple of weeks. They've won, I believe, 7 out of 8 series. Just kind of staying consistent, even though I don't think they've really swept any team in that time as well, too. Pitching staff's been ridiculous. We know it's something that can translate to a postseason matter as well, too, with the guys that they got. Just waiting for the offense, and especially Julio to wake up, and it looked like he was waking up a bit over the weekend against the A's. Who's your second?
So I did go with Texas. It's been a really rough time for them, but I feel like they can only go up from here. I'm thinking maybe it only takes 90 wins even to get the 2 seed. That's not too ridiculous of something to ask from them. And a lot of guys are going to be coming back. They don't even have Jacob deGrom right now. Feel like it could only go up from here.
Here's where I have Minnesota at the 2 spot. They win the Central. With the plane that they're on right now, I think they'll pass out Cleveland, and I think they have a bit more consistency than Cleveland, even though it's not what's been shown in the first couple months of the season. The lineup's waking up, the rotation's waking up as well too. They have a great bullpen as well. It's just a very sound team, and sound teams tend to win the division, and I think they have the edge over Cleveland as of right now. And then number 1.
Yeah, it's Baltimore, man. They have so many different options. They've been great at choosing when to use them, whether it's a platoon role, pinch hitting, pulling a guy out early, putting in the bullpen, and I love it. They're the top team in the AL.
I have Baltimore the number 1 as well, too. They're only going to get better as well, too. I think that is kind of the crazy part, whether that means calling guys back up or trading a couple of them for another ace or closer, because that's kind of been, I guess, their one issue so far is Craig Kimbrell just not remembering how to throw a baseball. But the Orioles are so good at every single position besides that closer spot, and that's why the best team in the AL as of right now. On to the NL, Skyler. Who's your third wild card?
I have the Diamondbacks edging out the Cubs here for the 6th spot. Another team I feel like they're just not playing their best baseball. We know they can do it. Montgomery, hey, you gonna hop on the new town train here with the pitchers? He's due for a lot here. I like the lineup, of course. Hit a lot of homers. It's gonna come eventually.
Yeah. I left Arizona out of the 6th spot, and I put the Padres as my number 6 team. I think with how their pitching staff has been and how that lineup is starting to shape up a bit better, Luis Arias, I think it can really make sense for them to sneak into a playoff spot, especially with it being in that low 500 level right now where you're not needing to win 90 games. You're probably going to look at an 84, 85, 86 win team in that 6th spot, and I think the Padres can kind of fit that to a T, especially if they're close, they're going to buy at the deadline as well too. That's just how AJ Preller plays. Wild card number 2.
Yeah, I got San Diego at the 5 spot for a lot of the same reasons here. They just got to stay above 500, and they're going to be fine. Like you said, Arias was perfect. We mentioned it last week. They didn't have any veteran lefties, really. There's a guy to put at the top of your lineup, and he's been great so far.
Yeah. I didn't put Arizona in the 6th seed because I have them in the 5 seed. They find a good, June, July, whatever it is, whatever month it is that they play good baseball, and sneak above the Padres and grab that second wild card spot. This team's going to click, man. They went to the World Series last year. They have a good roster, better roster than what their regular season record indicated last year as well, too, because it was, really a 2-part season with them where they had a really good first half and then fell apart, to be honest with you, in the second half, and then obviously had that great postseason run. But they're going to be just fine. I think probably an 86 or 87 win team as well too. But we know that they're built for the playoffs as well too with that rotation that they have. Number 1 wild card.
It hurts me to do this because I picked them to have the best record in baseball, but it's going to be Atlanta. They're just so banged up right now. Respect to the rotation for holding things together right now. And of course, they could go on a crazy streak next month and be 5 games ahead of Philly, just like that. But they're not really doing that right now.
Yeah, this was tough because it's really like, how much do you trust yourself? Do you really believe in the Phillies to have that great regular season all the way through? Because the Braves are probably going to do it. At the end of the day, I just didn't. So I put Philly as my number 1 wild card team. I'm just not ready to put Philly as the division winners just because I'm so used to just penciling in Atlanta there in the last, 6 or 7 years. Now at this point, regardless, Philly's been the best team in the big leagues in the early going. They have gotten the best starting pitching, the most innings out of them. They've had a solid bullpen, and their lineup is just clicking 1 through 9 right now. This team's really damn good. They're 30-13 for a reason. I just don't think it stays up to that point, and it needs to stay up to that point in order to win the division because the Braves are coming. Worst division winner. Who you got?
I got Milwaukee. I kind of hinted at it with the Cubs missing out here, but I feel like this is a more complete squad. Maybe not the names that the Cubs have, but the young guys of Milwaukee have been fine. Last time we checked in with Milwaukee, some guys were slumping, but Christian Yelich is going to be coming back soon. Contreras has been a monster. Oh, he is back? Perfect. And who's the last one I'm missing? Freddie Peralta. We didn't mention him earlier because some of these pitchers have been just ridiculous this year, but he's right up there as an honorable mention for sure.
Yeah, and they got prospects as well too. So they got whether they want to move or whether they want to, keep them there and bring them up. They can do whatever. But I also have the Brewers as my central winner, the worst division winner in the NL. Probably like an 88 or 89 win team. I haven't been the best there. I like the team. They're pretty complete, man. So I have them as the number 3. Who's your number 2?
Number 2, it is going to be Philly. I just can't ignore that we've never really seen this hot of a start from this Philly regime. And that scares me that they could be the team that ends up with over 100 wins. We just mentioned what those 3 starters are ridiculous. All of them could be number 1 for the Cy Young. And again, knock on wood, everyone's been pretty healthy for them too. Trey Turner's been awesome, and he wasn't very good last year.
Yeah,
for stretches.
My number 2 team is going to be the Braves. I think even if Philly does win 100 games, I think Atlanta probably wins 102 or whatever it is. Like, you just have to keep up with them the entire season. That's so hard to do. Even without a Spencer Strider, Atlanta's just damn good, man. The offense hasn't really even gotten going yet. whether that's Acuna, whether that's Riley, whether that's Olsen, whether it's Albies, like they're going to click in the summer. They're going to have some crazy months, and I think they'll be just fine in the NL East. And then the winner in the NL West.
Yeah, it's going to be the Dodgers. It's, top in every single category you could possibly have for a team. You have the best run differential. You have the top two candidates for MVP. You have a top candidate for Cy Young, a top for Rookie of the Year. They are completely locked and loaded. Maybe go out and get another corner outfielder at the deadline, but it's going to be a low key move if they do something like that, right?
Yeah, it's the Dodgers. They might win like 110 games. Like it's just probably going to happen. There's no stopping the lineup. There's no way to play around the MVPs because you still have to deal with the Will Smith. You still have to deal with the Teoscar Hernandez. You still have to deal with Max Muncy. You still have to deal with Pages, Outman once he gets going. Like it's 1 through 8 if Kevin Lux is playing, but 1 through 9 most of the time. That's just a ridiculous amount of painful ABs for the pitcher. So. Oh, they also have Walker Buehler, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow. They're gonna have Kershaw coming back. They just have pitchers at the wahoo. The team's loaded. Dude, it's crazy. So Dodgers is number one. Anyways, that does it. Psych. World Series picks, Skyler. Who do you have?
Right now, I'm going to have to stick with the Dodgers in the NL. I think they're going to win it all. And Baltimore's been the most consistent American League team. I hate to be boring, but there's no way I'm trusting Texas, Minnesota, or the Yankees right now, right?
I got the Phillies in the NL. And we'll go Baltimore in the AL, and Baltimore's too nice to beat Philly in a World Series, man. If that happens, Philly's going to be doing some nasty shit to those guys. I just don't think Baltimore can handle it at that point. So I'll go Philly as my World Series winners, despite them not winning the division. Right. Moving on to our NBA draft lottery and an NBA playoffs check-in.
Yeah. So the draft lottery was this weekend. Kind of caught me off guard. I was getting some notifications. I was like, oh my goodness, I got to flip this on. I didn't know this was happening. But the big story is Atlanta. They're going up plus 9 spots from the projection. They get the number 1 overall pick. We'll run through the rest here. Washington stays put at 2. So they're going to get a player for tanking that horribly the past 2 years. Good for them. Number 3 is going to be the Houston Rockets, just missing the play-in, but it all works out because their Brooklyn pick that they got for James Harden is going to be number 3. San Antonio at 4 moves up a spot. They're going to be looking for a guard to team up with Wembanyama, you would expect. And at the 5 spot, the Detroit Pistons get a little screwed again in the lottery, falling down to 5. It is going to be a really weird draft, in my opinion, because there's no solid number 1 option here. It's kind of all muffled
Harrison
together
Barnes
in the B+ area. Harrison Barnes is a good comp here. The problem, Kyle, is I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, it's a horrible draft class, trade your pick, because there's so much potential. The problem is we've never had a draft where the top 5 guys are all from the Euro League. We don't really know. It's not like college football where we can go pick up anyone's film. Only the scouts know who's going to be good, right? And that's a little scary, of course. But some good defenders in the draft.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a star-heavy draft at all. I don't think we're going to be seeing any MVPs from this class.
Bunch of number 3s.
Yeah, it's really weird, and I guess that makes it a good time to trade the number 1 overall pick if you're Atlanta, because maybe there's a team that loves Sar or some shit like that, and you have the ability to get some pretty decent capital back, but then you got to play the lottery game again. Maybe it all works out a different way. So who knows? But weird year for the draft. I will say that.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. So let's get right into the NBA playoffs here. Right now, live, we got the Knicks up on Indiana by 8. Right now, they're in New York. So we'll start there. Series is tied 2-2. The Knicks are really banged up. Indiana's really young. This one would be awesome if it came down to 7. And I'll get more into my prediction, but I've been right in Indiana so far this year. Stick in the East here. The only 3-1 here is going to be the Boston 3-1 lead over Cleveland. They're going back to Boston. Donovan Mitchell's banged up. Last night seemed like the last hurrah for Cleveland, and they lost. So I would imagine Boston will be moving on pretty shortly to the Eastern Conference Finals. Another game, I believe this one is tonight. Yeah, the Nuggets and Timberwolves. How about Minnesota going up first 2 games on the road in Denver, the defending champs' home, and then blowing the lead at home? I told you Jokic wasn't going to roll over. I think I still got to stick with Minnesota, right? But how could you pick against Denver? They look so good right now.
Yeah, no, it was completely flipped from what it was, when we were talking about this last week, because it was just after game 2. And all Minnesota had to do was win 1, and you kind of felt really comfortable about winning that series. Now, Denver gets game 5. If that happens, okay, good. They have all the momentum right now. We'll see how it goes tonight.
The last Western Conference semifinal matchup, that's the 1-seeded OKC Thunder tied 2-2 with the Mavericks after their win last night. Dallas could not hit a free throw. Luka's banged up. I think this is going to be the end for Dallas. They're about to fall apart here, in my opinion. And, yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I thought Dallas won. I was playing MLB, and I haven't been too locked into the playoffs. So I'm checking every now and then. And I saw the Mavericks were up by 8 with 5 minutes left or something like that. I was like, oh, okay, game over. So when you said Boston, Cleveland was only 3-1 series, I was like, what? Okay. But now I do see that they won.
A really rough finish to that one. They shot only 50% from free throw range, and Luka missed some big ones last night that pretty much proved he's not even close to 50% healthy right now, in my opinion. And hey, man, it was a good run, but OKC's got a big advantage coming back home now, and that's what we got so far.
And OKC 23-24 from the line too, so they were made for the moment. It looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the youngsters coming out.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, moving on from the NBA playoffs check-in, we're looking at our bets. I see a whole lot of red, unfortunately. It was rough. I had, for my layup, it was an Angels-Pittsburgh Pirates game, under 7.5. It was not. It was over by quite a bit, unfortunately. So that one's wrong. Skylar had the Yankees over Houston on Thursday. Stroman versus Blanco. I believe that's the only one that the Yankees didn't win in that series. So have fun there. So what do you do when you can't hit your layups? You go to WNBA for your picks. I have the New York Liberty and Indiana Fever over 173.5 on Thursday. That is Brianna Stewart versus Caitlin Clark in her second game.
All right. So a similar strategy for me. I've got to switch it up here. So let's go to something I have been getting right recently. Some NBA picks. So I hinted at it earlier. I'm going to take OKC to win the next 2 in a row. OKC in 6. That was my original prediction because it's what happened last night at the end of the game just left a really sour taste in my mouth for Dallas. They're in a rough spot for sure.
Moving on to goal predictions. I was tripping there for a second. Also over 2, unfortunately. I had Boston over Atlanta on Wednesday. Did not go that way. Do not look at that game. Skylar had Arizona over Baltimore on Friday. That did not go that way, unfortunately. This week, also WNBA, LA Sparks over Atlanta on Wednesday. Season opener for them, plus 175. Cam Brink, Stanford Prod, number 2 overall pick. Have them getting a victory.
All right. Good luck. Just crazy. Crazy bets. I'm going to go with basketball again, man. The game's going on right now in this series. I still got the Pacers in 7. They're down. They can lose this game on the road, but they have to win Game 6 at home. That's a must win because in Game 7, with everyone banged up after a long physical series, anything is possible, man. So I'm going with Indiana, keeping the pick streak alive. We're getting no series wrong, Kyle.
There we go. Yeah, we'll say it feels like some of the stuff I saw is like a war of attrition on the Knicks, and that kind of makes a Game 5 pretty critical for them because if you're like, all right, we just need one more to win the series, like it feels a bit easier to do. But if you need two and one of them involves winning a road game, that feels a whole lot tougher. So big Game 5 tonight. What's going on? Anyways, that's going to do it, though, for episode 192. Talked WNBA, we talked NBA, we talked MLB, not the WMLB, because that's not a thing.
Not yet.
That's not it. We'll talk football next week because we'll get the schedule released out. So I'm sure we'll go over some of the cool things and little things that we like with our teams that own schedules. I don't know anything about the Raiders schedule. I saw maybe there's a rumor that we're playing on Thanksgiving, which would be cool because that's always fun. Last time we played on Thanksgiving was a fun one as well too. But yeah, I guess we'll see you guys next week for episode 193.
Late buys. Let's get a late season buy.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Week 11.
Okay. But yeah, that's been 192, quarter season mark, NBA playoffs. It's going to be a fun week of basketball, that's for sure. And the baseball never stops, thankfully.
Yeah. Go A's.
Yes, sir.